Welcome back to the Real Estate Huddle. This is episode 25, and we're excited to be talking about school districts today. And as you can tell from the title, like a big search term that a lot of people are very excited to know, especially coming from the outside of the Denver metro area, is what school districts are the best, and where should I, make my area and my location, my surroundings coming into the Denver metro area. And so, first of all, we just have to get kind of some disclaimers out of the way, because as much as we would love to tell you like everything we know about every school district, we are a little limited. Fair housing requires us to not steer anyone to or from locations, and so we're going to be very resourceful today and use websites to point you to the resource of where you can go to get information on school districts. And and quote some of these websites so that you have data that's actually been driven from, collecting test scores, experiences from other people that have gone to those schools, rather than just hearing our opinions. Because, I guess 3 out of 4 of us grew up here in Colorado, so we probably have our own bias and our own opinions of things. But we'll try to keep that out of it a little bit and just focus a little bit more on the facts and what's actually happening between the lines and on the numbers. So if that's fair, let's get started, and we'll kind of dive into this. So do you guys want to talk first on just like the different resources or different sites that you can go to learn a little bit more about school districts?
I've always pointed my clients to greatschools.org. It's pretty user-friendly. You can pull reports based off of test scores. They rank all the different elementary, middle school, and high schools there, and my clients tend to really like that one.
Mm-hmm. Niche.com is another really popular one for ranking of schools. And then another resource, honestly, is like Facebook groups for schools usually have parents that have children going there. So that's a good place to look. And then the other resource would be the parent-teacher organization. So you can ask the school for the PTA president or liaison, and they should have a lot of information for you as well.
Yeah, I think it's also important to look at like public schools and private schools, and just there's a lot of public schools here that are pretty big. So if you wanted your child to go to like kind of a smaller school, that's something to look at as well. But niche.com also has some of like the student count, so you can kind of see how big the school is and determine which would be a best fit for you.
Definitely. Yeah. And if you're looking for like districts, I would say niche.com probably has the most information about districts. But if you're looking specifically about like school, like one school in general, if you have it narrowed down to that, then Great Schools is actually, like, to be completely transparent, the only one that I knew of before preparing for this podcast. Great Schools is huge, and they've done a ton of marketing. So like we send a lot of people to greatschools.org, and they just have a lot of information. It's like a true ranking based on the test scores in the state. And so you kind of get a feel for the academics and like how well teachers are doing and conveying the ideas to kids, and how well they're doing in their tests and stuff. And so it's all those CMAS tests that my kids hate and ask to be opted out of every year. But we say, no, you need to go and learn how to be a better test taker most years. But this year it was tough. We had Miley's like, can we just opt out of science and math, please? And I'll do the other ones. And so we agreed to it because we're soft, but some kids get out of the whole thing every year, and they just get like half the day off for 2 weeks, basically, with CMAS testing, and that's K through 8. And then in high schools they do PSAT, which is like the prep SAT scores that go towards the school rankings and stuff. And that's where a lot of this is derived from, is from those spots. And so a couple others to mention, there's schooldigger.com, which is a good one for just school focus too. They don't do a lot as far as like the district goes overall. There's a ton of information on Reddit. You can find all kinds of info there as far as the schools go. We talked about other sources too. You'd mentioned another one earlier too, Jackson. You want to mention that as far as
like
groups?
The Facebook group?
Yeah, well, Facebook groups for each school, like there's always going to be, parents there. Nextdoor also is like a forum where people can talk about like the neighborhood community and the schools. There used to be Rate My Teacher, But I did a little more research, and they've since disappeared and gone defunct. But that used to be where students could like actually review the school, because a lot of the reviews that you get are from like the parents of the students and not directly from students themselves.
RateMyProfessor.com.
Rate My Professor
I
is
remember
still
that one.
there
Yeah.
for colleges, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I would look up teachers before I got classes at school and
Yeah.
just be like, no, I'm not taking that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. Yeah, there's definitely some good resources out there. And there's a Denver relocation guide that's out there online as well. There's also a couple other resources. The U.S. actually does U.S. News does its own like best schools in the Denver area rankings every year. And so that's always kind of interesting. A few of them that show up like on the top slots are Devlin, I guess is how they say it, is like a really highly ranked academic school according to that website, and usnews.com. And then Stargate Charter School in Adams County up in Thornton. The Denver School of Arts is a big one. And then we've got STEM School, which is right by us in Highlands Ranch, is really highly rated as well. Number 4 out of like all the rankings in the state. And then they also say like the national ranking too, which is kind of interesting. So like Devlin is actually 59th in the nation of all schools. So that's a really high rating for them too. And I've heard great things about
I've heard good
about
stuff
Devlin
about
too.
it too.
So Evergreen High School, number 6. There's a couple that are right in our area, like Legacy High School in Broomfield, Cherry Creek High School. You probably heard of that if you've heard anything about the Denver area, like Cherry Creek.
It's a huge school.
Big area, yeah. Cherry Creek Mall and all the things that are there as well. So Rock Canyon High School, rounding it out, number 10 in Highlands Ranch as well, according to the U.S. News website. So lots of information out there to look at. I think anything else that you want to say about great schools or about like any of these sites that's been valuable to clients?
I would just look at like the campus and amenities. Like there's definitely some schools that have a lot of their stuff already developed out and it's super, super nice. And there's some schools where you're using another school's field for your football games.
Yeah.
So that's something to take into account.
Or just kind of sports in general. I know like some bigger schools have a lot of sports teams, and then some of the littler schools like don't have as many sports teams. So if you are interested in a sport, it'd be good to look at those. Those teams.
Totally. Yeah. And I think it's like what's important to you, right? Like for one person relocating into the Denver metro area, it may be super important to have the sports, like their kid's a phenom athlete and they want them in the sports schools. And so you could Google like who's won the most state championships or whatnot.
Yeah, I was going to say state championships, and you can look up rankings and stuff for basically all the teams that are Chaffin recognized.
Greatschools.org breaks it down to that level.
Wow.
To where you can see it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Even with sports.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
And even like the Denver School of Arts, where it's like if you want to kind of focus in that direction, you can look at schools like that.
Yep, definitely. If academics is your like great schools is great for academics because it's all about test scores, right? So you can really get a good feel for that. And they rank things 0 to 10. Typically, and I've seen everything. It's all across the board. I've seen 2s in some areas. I've seen 10s in a lot of areas too. And schools can tell the story for the in an area a lot of times, and we'll tell you a lot about it, especially if you start reading reviews and starting to get familiar with it. Should you read every review that you read, or believe every review that you read? What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I'd take it with a grain of salt. I mean, there's like factual stuff like test scores, but with reviews, there's like out of 500 people, there's probably 2 people who are mad about nothing. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt, especially if it's a personal perspective, but they can be really useful to get a feel for the community and what the school's like.
Yeah. If their name's Karen, then I'm just kidding. Just kidding. We love Karens. Everyone's a Karen. We have lots of clients that are Karens. But anyways, I think it's a very good resource, and it's kind of like interesting too. Like you could buy a home in one area. Maybe the elementary school is a 4, but the high school is a 10, right? And you kind of like, but then the other cool thing about like certain areas pretty much all across the Denver metro areas, you've got charter school options too. And so like a lot of people don't understand charter schools, but charter schools are basically they're publicly funded, right? So they get money, right, to fund their operations from the government, but they're privately ran. And so that helps you to, if they want to teach a certain way, or they want to focus on like STEM, for example, like wants to focus on math and science, right? Then they can do that without being restricted and having to like learn all the other things too. And they probably have standards that they have to live up to, but it's just they have more flexibility on curriculum and what they can do and what they don't have to do. So that may be a good option for some. There's private school options as well. What are some of the most popular private schools around town that people should know about?
Well, I don't want to list any specific private schools, but I was going to say for public schools, we also have an open enrollment system. Mm-hmm. So like the high school that I went to, I open enrolled into it even though I was out of district. So if you do have something where it's like, okay, I really like this middle school, but then when they go to high school, maybe they could open enroll to this one that's only 7 minutes away.
That's exactly what I was going to say too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something you can plan for as well. If there's a nearby school that is better, we do have an open enrollment system.
Okay. Awesome.
And I've had a lot of clients do that, where they had kids in multiple different stages, and one in middle school, one in high school, and they did something like that to make sure they were both their kids were in a school that the parents wanted them to.
Nice. Yeah. No, I think that's nice. And it seems like there's a little more flexibility with open enrolling nowadays than there was before. But you could just call the school's administrative offices, and they can let you know if like open enrollment is a thing at that school, or if they're restricted based on like quantities of numbers of kids and all that stuff. So that can be helpful too. But, if you're going the private school route, I've seen, pricing on tuition anywhere from like, $5,000 a year all the way up to $50,000 a year at some of these private schools. So, for some families and some parents though, it's like incredibly important to have, just a different style or quality of education and facilities and stuff. And so there's definitely options out there for that too. And those schools do show up on the rankings as well for these websites. So you can definitely look into those too. So anything else, guys, on the topic?
No, I think it's just, giving everyone a quick reminder that you can use your real estate agent to pinpoint where to find certain information about the schools, areas, but we have to stay unbiased and we can't give our personal opinion and we can't say one is better than the other. But again, we can still support you. It just looks a little bit different than what most people expect. Because I get this question all the time. It's, what do you think of the school? It's like, here's information on what you can read and find out about it instead.
Yep.
So
definitely, yeah, and it's so easy nowadays with how like accessible everything is to just look it up real fast and see what that ranking is 0 out of 10 on each school and I've like. I don't know, there's a lot of people that if they don't have kids, like it's completely irrelevant. The school system like does not matter to them, right? And so that you could be in that boat as well. And there's other people that are like, hey, I don't have kids, but the school system is important because it says something about the area, and that to me.
And that's what I tell. That's exactly what I tell people all the time. Even if you don't have kids, it's nice to know that you're in a good school district or have good schools around you, because when you go to sell in the future, that's the type of area most families are going to fight over during spring and summer months.
Yep.
So I still tell my people, if they have kids or not, that's something to look at.
Yeah, I can think of a specific city where the difference between the two school districts is like pretty much the difference between the areas of that city. So it can make a big difference. Yeah,
for sure. So good to know where to look. And if you have more questions on like which resources to go after, or just specific questions about like, hey, how's this neighborhood? How are the amenities in this neighborhood? Like that's something as realtors here in the Denver metro area and especially on the south side of the Denver metro area where we focus on, like we're able to really answer those questions for you and show you, as far as, this one has a lake, this one has a pond where you can go fishing, or this one has parks and trails and all that kind of stuff. And that all matters too when you're outside looking in and you don't know much about the area. A lot of people just want to know, what's the crime rate? What are the schools like? And what are the amenities like? What are the best neighborhoods around? So stay tuned to other videos Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can understand more about what all those resources are, and we'll point you in the right direction. If you have any specific questions, you can always reach out. So thanks again for listening today, and we'll see you on the next one.